There is a new report out saying that the CIA has dumped 13 million files regarding remote viewing and other formerly top secret clandestine programs onto this website. And I'm going to leave a link down below for you to check it out. In this video, I'm kind of encouraging you in the comment section to make references to anything that seems interesting with regards to this supposed data dump. Of course, we can't trust the CIA. So most of us are going to look at this and go, this is disinformation. It's not a real data leak. It's what they are admitting. Now, in this video, I'm not going to be super long-winded, but I am going to bring up some basic points. For those of you that are subscribers, you may have noticed that I have been discussing Stargates, underground bases, alien abductions in the past, patterns, how that may link with cattle mutilations. I've also talked about the Stargate TV series, of which I hold in my hands. I actually have the first 4 seasons on disc. I understand it is online for free. I don't have unlimited internet. These were really cheap at the thrift store. And so I've been looking at the predictive programming in the Stargate miniseries and how in a way that is a data dump in the case of science fiction. And that's kind of a longer conversation, but just the brief cliff notes. Shadow government, good. Stargate needed to defend our planet. Oh, but there's more. I'm going to show you a clip. We're working with the aliens. We're working with the Greys. They are our friends. They need us. They are benevolent. They want to help us. And here we have Sam Carter, who is talking with the Grey.
I'm sorry, but that just won't be the same.
I have been working on this for the better part of a year, Colonel Carter.
And we appreciate it, really.
Many on the council did not believe we should be imparting such advancements.
Well, I promise we will do our very best not to let you down.
You are the 5th race. Your role is clear. If there is any hope in preserving the future, it lies with you and your people.
No pressure, huh?
You have earned my respect.
Alright, so there's a lot of this character development. She's like one of the chosen one because whether it be her bloodline or whatever, at one point she carried a ghoul, which is also metaphoric if I think of even reptilian or archonic hijacking of human consciousness and or metaphors for an alien-human hybrid program.
My only regret is that our physical weakness has left us incapable of helping you further.
So there's a lot of things that people have wondered with regards to what has our government really been doing? Have they actually had a base on the moon, on the dark side of the moon? Is there any truth to the women that have had memories of being raped by my lab projects, where there's literally a crossover? So what that does, with helps of that beautiful actor, she's very beautiful, very talented, not a boring miniseries. I don't mind Richard Dean Anderson. I guess the beginning of the Stargate series was better, and then what I've heard from others that have watched the whole thing, it kind of went downhill from that point on. So I'm giving you some examples really briefly. The government, in a way, comes out of the closet with the Stargate miniseries to say, oh yeah, let's put it in a movie, but let's change the locations, let's change the dates, let's change the names, but it's all based loosely on things that may have happened. And so there's another episode that I watched in the last 12 hours to where it looks like a reenactment potentially of the Eisenhower Gray deal, that allegedly happened in 1954. So there's a scene where they're meeting with Richard Dean Anderson, who played MacGyver, who's one of the main characters in the Stargate miniseries. They're like, we like you, so we're going to appoint you the head of your own people. We want you to, we've been watching you, we like your style, and we want to have a truce. We don't want to invade you. But we're going to have a truce, otherwise we might have to invade you. And so there's actually a plot where it's almost as if one alien is setting up Stargate SG-1 and saying, if you don't make the deal with us and give us the Stargates, we will destroy you. It makes you wonder if there's deals that have been made in which humanity has been deceived in the past. Like, hey, we're going to destroy you, or we can't do this, that, and the other unless we have a treaty and you give us access to your genetic material. So that's enough on Stargate. Getting back to the report, is this disinformation or is this a real dump of data and information that would give us an accurate understanding of what our own government and other governments have been up to? And the answer is less than likely. The question also is, why is it coming out now? What other truth is out there that they're trying to distract us away from? So I sent the link to a friend and I said, take a look at what's there. Let me know if there's anything humorous or out of the ordinary. And the same goes for you down in the comment section. Feel free to copy and paste. So there's only so much information you can put in there. Maybe a summary with a link. And so this also might open up your eyes to the reality that there is something to being clairvoyant or having psychic ability, but it's for years been packaged into this thing called remote viewing. And what I mean by that is there is something to the sixth sense which we all have. And it has been militarized for many, many years. And so when you see revelations like this, you may not get specifics with regards to it, but you're getting confirmation that the program is still ongoing. In fact, I met someone in the recent past that talked to me about how she had heard about ongoing remote viewing programs when she was in the military. You know, we're talking as recently as the last 10 years. But officially, there isn't any information out there. Why is that? And then you have movies like The Men Who Stare at Goats, and it goes into a more ridiculous direction. But why does it have to go in a more ridiculous direction? Why don't the American people really have an honest glimpse at what our government has been up to and capabilities? But what it also shows us about the powers of the mind. You should also be informed that China has made massive leaps and bounds with regards to remote viewing and the development of psychic warfare for military application, to the point where, talk about transhumanism, man-machine interface, talk about, their advancement to the point where I'll cover this independently as its own story. Controlling the mouse, or controlling the moving of the cursor of the mouse by thought alone. And you think about the military applications for that, for fighter jets and other things, and then you wonder if this technology is actually based on technology that's actually been around for some time. It's actually being given to mankind. See, there's something going on. And there is some truth to this acronym known as MyLab, and the idea that aspects of our own government has been working with aspects of, say, non-human intelligence, or intelligences. And we can also look at clues. We look at pop culture, things of that nature, to where they glamorize the Stargate, and they bring out certain things that have like the snake serpent symbolism. And I'm also going to point out that the villains, Apophis, ghoul, metaphor for reptilian or archon or alien, snake symbolism, cobra head, protective, a lot of symbolic stuff there. Often darker skinned. Their enemies are often darker skinned. But the heroes, for the most part, with the exception of their token alien guy, you see how they've inverted things. And again, with Stargate SG-1, this is like CERN. And it takes up a great bit of energy. And there are these episodes where they're being confronted by their military superiors and like, your program costs us billions per day. What have you brought us back in terms of technology and other things? Why should we keep your program ongoing? But they keep reinforcing this in a very entertaining and educational series. Here's Apophis again. Okay, the dark-skinned ruler. The reptilian cobra heads, and it's like it's a protective element, making you also think about a metaphor for astronauts, or even theories about reptilians or greys being really just a front for something else. Briefly mentioning that there's a lot of imagery in the Stargate series with alien implementation, implanting a ghoul in a human body or a host, and the idea of them fighting back against this invasion, which is physical. And what I've been telling you, but I'm not the only one, is that we have actually already been ongoing, have had an ongoing invasion of human consciousness, of sometimes archonic consciousness. and a lot of these other things, reptilians, greys, really being under this Archon umbrella, which is really just describing this force that we are against, which you can also find in allegories in movies like Star Wars and Dark City, as well as They Live. Even Adjustment Bureau, the idea of Eve Lorgan's love bite and people's relationships being manipulated by forces that they don't understand. That, I believe, is also going on this planet, as the New World Order has a war on women, and it's all about controlling their genetics. Not only their consciousness, but the types of life, forms of life that are brought into this world. This is why, in my opinion, and I'm one of the few giving you this perspective, this whole white genocide hysteria is coming from a darker place to control the types of humans that are born onto this planet. There's nothing wrong with those of the blue-eyed, blonde-haired type, but they seem to be the targets in some of these programs. Not just blue eyes, but also green eyes and the hazel brown. There's a certain blood type even. Or maybe it's even beyond that. Maybe it's on a soul level and not just bloodline, or a combination of the two. But I do believe that there are certain humans and certain women, especially in this country and continent, that are targeted covertly and have been targeted covertly because of their eggs, because of the ability for the human female vessel to bring various forms of life into this realm. With Stargate SG-1, they come out and pretty basically retell the story of the chariots of the gods in the very first episode of the pilot. But then you look at the real stories and the real accounts of people that have gone under, hypnosis, regression, and they're having memories of things that involve our own government, underground basis. Facing the Shadow, Embracing the Light is a book that I have in my possession. I found it randomly at a thrift store after putting out the intention that every time I go to that thrift store, or I'm able to make it down the hill, I'm going to find a new book. A new book that's going to blow my mind. And add one more here. Here's another one. Top Secret, all about MJ-12. See, and I don't buy into necessarily the perspective of Stanton Friedman or that the government would really disclose things, but you hang on to this as a part of the historical record. This is what they let out, or what they wanted us to believe. This is how the government wants the Stargate program projected. Now they're talking about literally a Project Stargate being disclosed in this CIA data link, this whole remote viewing WikiLeaks thing. Now, I believe WikiLeaks is fabricated. I don't believe that Julian Assange is real. He may be a real human being, but this whole thing about, what he's doing being legitimate and being organic, this is really a product of the state of the New World Order. It's part of the propaganda war. Donald Trump's part of the system, too. Side note, we'll talk about it more in future videos. Donald Trump and Elon Musk, Tesla, Obama declaring the corporate space race, Donald Trump picking up where Obama leaves off, and while they plan for war on the ground, China, Russia, these other conflicts, there is this New World Order integration being built in space. As their Tower of Babel seems threatened by certain things, cosmic factors, solar flares. There's actually an episode in Stargate where they use the solar flare for energy to travel in time through a Stargate that was not connected up to any grid. They used literally somehow the solar flares or the energy from the solar flare to go through the Stargate. It's like that is there for a reason. Validating also there's something about the upcoming solar cycle, the 2022, 2023, 2024, 2025. World War III on the ground, and something going on with portals opening, technology, Stargate technologies, and something of that kind. Something taking place, and I would even say an alien agenda coming up here in the 2020s. So this data dump may be there to throw us off the trail of what's real. Just like this doesn't show us how the government's been involved with certain things, or the MyLab project, but it does show and document what the government has put out there, and the Men in Black and things of that nature, covering up certain things that may have been tests of their own craft, or the government covering up or trying to silence people that had encounters with the Greys that were part of a covert program, Eisenhower alien deal, if any of that is real, to show up and make sure the person doesn't talk about it, or to expose them to technologies literally being brought out in Hollywood, like Men in Black, that would cause them to have some sort of a memory issue. With the woman in the book upstairs, where she's talking about being raped by human and non-human entities, or entities that would use the form of both. She spoke of being jabbed in the neck with a green substance in a syringe that a military doctor, he was basically observing her not only being raped, but giving her that substance before being raped at an underground base and somewhere in a Nevada test range site. And by the way, this was going on in 1978, 1979, 1980. Boom! Same time period, there was a cattle mutilation wave in the San Luis Valley, even Costilla County, Colorado, believe it or not. And many people believe, like Philip Schneider, who's now deceased, that under Blanca is a military base, where, according to Philip Schneider, now deceased, that there was a military gray firefight, like something out of Close Encounters of the Third Kind, which also depicts this type of government gray interface for biology, kind of an extension of this theory of the Eisenhower gray deal for biological material. And that we see Stargate SG-1 literally echo those very themes in scenes like I just showed you. So the question is, what's really going on? And where's the disinformation? And what role is China, with their growing military and economy, playing in any of this? Are they making deals with non-human forces? And is there a reason why they have a ghost city in China that is not yet populated? Large, extravagant buildings. Maybe it's for a human elite. Maybe it's for something else. And there certainly seems to be a reason why they built up a surveillance society. Database, data mining. I would say that the information about certain people's bloodlines would be considered very valuable to those in control. But of course, ask yourself who is really in control of all of this. And more signs than not are pointing to the fact that this is not really of human creation. Humans are really doing the bidding of these entities, whatever you choose to call them, but we have ended up with some profound technologies, and instead of them having the ability, because they're not all powerful, to kill everybody with a little bit of information, they pollute the pop culture wave. They do these data dumps. Hey, it's remote viewing WikiLeaks, to take us off the accurate trail by putting a little bit of truth with a little bit of disinformation. So, I covered a lot here. I'm going to come back and talk about this strange world that we're living in, but I do believe there's some sort of a weird off-world agenda as they plot World War III. We can see even Elon Musk, and I was talking about him before he became a part of this White House administration. That is trippy. Elon Musk and his ilk, and those funding him, and those other multi-billionaires, what are they doing with their off-world bases? Oh, they may say they're going to Mars and the moon, and that they're inviting all types of people. Of course, they're going to do a screening process. Bloodline is going to be a very important part of this. And there's going to be a fair amount of women that they're going to want involved in this. But not just women, men and women. As they talk about colonizing, as people like Michio Kaku talks about a two-planet species, we're already being programmed for this. And I think something else is behind this. So let me know down below in the comment section what you think. For now, I'll pause, and we'll come back and talk about this further in the future. I'm Alex Ansary, sign off from somewhere out there on a hill in southwest Colorado, off the grid on this day of January 21st, 2017.